All right, welcome everybody to another webinar brought to you by GoDaddy Pro. Today we are talking about marketing emails, holiday readiness through marketing emails. So let me go ahead and share my screen. We can all take a look here. We are going to be talking about the who, what, when, and how of email marketing with WooCommerce for this busy holiday season. My name is Marcus Burnett. I am a WooCommerce specialist on the GoDaddy Pro team, and you'll also find me hosting lots of these events and in the WooCommerce communities online, both in Slack and Facebook and anywhere else that I can find people talking about WooCommerce. This is actually part 4 of a series that we are doing all month long about holiday readiness. If you missed the other 3, please do go back and take a look at those. They're all available to watch right now on events.godaddy.com or on the GoDaddy Pro YouTube channel. And then we do have one more next week at the same time, so make sure that you go register that. I will remind you again at the end of this, so don't worry. But I'm not here alone. Our expert today is Tabitha Turton. Welcome, Tabitha. Tabitha is a product manager here at GoDaddy, and we'll be the one giving you all the actual wisdom and advice as we go along throughout the day, or throughout this session, I should say. Tabitha, you want to tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure, yeah. So I am a product manager here at GoDaddy. I'm focused on our managed WordPress e-commerce platform. So I work every day trying to improve our platform, make sure it's meeting the needs of our merchants, and we're able to help folks, improve their sales and make it really simple to manage an online store. I do have a lot of email experience, though. I worked on our email platform called Jilt for about 4 years. And so email is very near and dear to my heart. And I've worked with merchants through the years, making sure that we could build really successful campaigns and automations. And so I'm really excited to dig into what works really well, especially leading up to this holiday period, which is like the Super Bowl of the year when it comes to marketing.
Yep, and it's just about here, right? So let's see what we need to do to get ready for it. So what we'll cover today, we're going to learn about some trends in email marketing around the holidays to get started. And then we'll look at some strategies for planning e-commerce marketing emails and talk a little bit about automation. Some of this is going to be manual, some of it will be third-party service, some of it will be automation related, and we'll go through each of those as we go along. We do have a few useful extensions that we'll talk about that are specific to WooCommerce, so you can get some of that going. And then we will have a Q&A at the end. So if you're hanging out with us in the chat, there's a Q&A tab. Make sure that you head over to the Q&A tab and leave any questions there. We are going to have some time at the end to take a look at those, and Tabitha will answer some questions for you. So please do make sure that you add those there as we go along. Let's start with, what does holiday readiness even mean? Holiday readiness, generally, holiday season is kind of towards the end of the year, but when we talk about it, we kind of talk about it in context of the Big 5 weekend in the US usually, and that's from Thanksgiving and Black Friday through to Cyber Monday, that weekend, which this year happens to be November 25th to 29th. Sales during this weekend last year amounted to 39 billion, up from 28.4 billion the year before. E-commerce has steadily grown each year, but of course the pandemic had, a bit to do with that as well. E-commerce spending went up about 15% for Cyber Monday. And we have a stat that the number of emails sent on Black Friday last year reached over 10 billion. That's a lot, Tabitha. That's a lot of emails.
Right. It's massive. And it's really impressive for being such kind of this stodgy, old school channel to use, right? But it just keeps on growing and growing with each year. And that's up like from a few years prior when I think it was around 5.5 billion or so in 2018 with the number of emails that were sent during that period. So it's just growing and growing. And when you think about this holiday period, it's I I know that I think most of everyone here, I might be the one non-American on the call, but even though it is like a really big US holiday, it's growing outside of America as well. So last year we saw huge gains like in Australia, Brazil, Italy, the UK. It's really popular here in Canada as well. So if you are targeting like an international customer base, it's really important to, well, to just be involved, of course, like, but think about how it's not just your American customers that are really keen to get in on the best deals. Like, this is a worldwide trend at this point, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's funny that you say, kind of this stodgy technology or whatever. I feel like there was a brief moment in time for a few years there where everyone, said email is a thing of the past. Let's jump onto other things, social media campaigns and all of that. And then that got so polluted that people decided there needed to be a better way, and that's email. So we're back to email because it's just easier to, focus in on target audiences and that. We can talk about that more as we go, but I just think it's funny because I think there was a time where email may have been considered that stodgy, antiquated technology, and it's sort of had a resurgence in the last couple of years, just because of that ability to focus in on people,
Yeah.
on
I
customers.
think that there are like think pieces that come out every so often, like, is this the end of email? And then right away, like the next week or something, you'll see like 4 articles about how effective emails continue to be. So yeah, it's definitely not a thing of the past. It's still the best way to reach your audience.
They write that article and then they include it in their email newsletter.
Right,
So
exactly.
got us real good. Yeah, so I guess just segueing into why focus on email marketing, right? We have just some more. This is kind of just a bunch of stats that we've put together here. Email marketing is the highest average order conversion rate compared to channels like direct search and social. That sort of hit on that, right? That's that back upswing into email. We realized that really is one of the more effective ways to communicate with customers. Um,
Totally.
yeah,
And like on this, just this one stat, like it's interesting because social comes in at like a 2% conversion rate versus email, which is nearly 4.4. So that's a really big difference. So you can think about it as being like your time can be better spent than putting towards your email marketing. Social is still an important component, but it's email is what's going to help convert.
yeah, and just thinking about the time that it takes for all of those. Not that email marketing is, a 10-minute thing, but social feels like one of those things that you've got to pour so much time and effort into continuing to be socially active, and it's not even as effective as, just putting together valuable email content.
Right.
Cart abandonment campaigns have a 34% open rate and a 9% click-through rate during the holiday. So we I think we have a stat somewhere later on, but cart abandonment, about 70% of all carts are abandoned. And one of the emails we'll talk about is recovery for those. But just to say here that the rates of those being successful are much higher during the holiday season. So definitely
Yeah.
important to do those now. Um, I won't read through all of these; they're on the screen. People can see them, but um, the one that I really wanted to kind of point out here is kind of at the end here. 54% of consumers start holiday shopping before Black Friday. 45% of those before November, 25 before October, which, we're almost 2/3, 3/4 of the way through, and 12% start in the summer already, back in July and August. So, um, all that to say that now or like a month ago is the time to be working on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, exactly. I think the stats here, there are really two main takeaways, and that is email is super effective, and you need to start now if you haven't. So this hopefully will help you get going if you haven't started yet.
Yeah, I think at least in the US, we're fairly aware that Black Friday used to be kind of this one day thing, then it became the weekend, and now it's become a multiple month ordeal. So
Right.
starting much earlier than the actual date is actually critical now. All right. let's get into talking about the different types of emails and when to use them. I do want to just repeat again for anybody who's joined us since we started. This is being recorded, so we'll make it available afterwards if you need to hop out or want to see it again afterwards. And then also make sure to ask your questions in the Q&A or in the chat. Well, I'll be hanging out in the chat throughout, but there's also a Q&A tab in the chat area as well. So please do feel free to add some questions there if they're pertinent to what's going on right at the moment and I see them. I'll grab them and we can address it at that time. But we also do have some time for Q&A at the end as well, where we'll take a look at those. So please do add those as you come up with questions throughout. All right, the first one that we're going to talk about is cart recovery email, which we briefly mentioned just a moment ago. But cart recovery emails, or cart abandonment emails, as they're sometimes called, encourage customers to return to complete their purchase. Tabitha, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what cart recovery emails are and why someone might want to have a cart recovery email system in place?
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that we have this as the first automation on our deck, because it really is. It's the first email sequence or automated email sequence that you want to get set up if you don't already have one, because it is so effective. Like you mentioned, Marcus, with 70% of carts being abandoned, what's really impressive is that you can recover typically about 15% of those abandoned carts just by a really simple sequence that once you've set it up, you let it go, and it's just doing the work for you, and you're getting those sales coming back to you. Because oftentimes when we're at the checkout, we might get distracted, we might have some questions or concerns about the policies or shipping, and so this email sequence can do this work for you for kind of answering these questions, being able to address any sort of hesitancy and get your customers back to your store, typically through maybe a little bit of an offer that gives them a discount. Oh, it looks like you're muted.
Do that to myself. Yeah, absolutely. And as we move to the next slide, I'll just kind of, let everyone know this is kind of the format that we're going to go through. We're going to look at each of one of the email types and, what they are. And then we'll talk about the who, when, and how for each one of these. So this would be for any site visitor who places a product in the cart. And the assumption would be that they don't complete the purchase there, of course. Otherwise, there's no reason to reach back out to them. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about when these should be sent out and give us a little bit of advice on how to send them as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do recommend using a 3 email sequence typically. The first email, it's really important to get out as soon as possible, but at least give your customers some time because they could still be shopping. So you don't want to get it out right away. Typically, the first hour is a good starting point. If you're selling digital goods, I would recommend decreasing that period of time down to maybe a 20 to 30 minute delay, because folks that are looking at a digital item probably are more receptive to completing their checkout sooner. If you are selling really high value goods, where it's a few $1,000s for the purchase, you might want to give your customers a little bit more time to think about it. So not hop on an hour, but maybe give them a few hours or even a day for that first email to go out. But generally 1 hour is a decent delay. And then you can think about the sort of content that you want to include within each email. We usually use the first email as a way to offer some customer support. So ask if they had any questions, if something went wrong. It's a great way to get feedback on maybe some technical issues with your website, or that they have concerns about the refund policy, shipping. The second email that would be sent can be really useful for addressing unexpected high costs. That's the main reason why most folks will abandon a cart, is because they just didn't expect to see that total when they got to their cart page. So Perhaps there's a way that you can address that within the second email. I'll typically add a discount or some sort of offer if there's a margin for that for the store. And then the third email is just like that last reminder to use a little bit of urgency, like, hey, this is going to end soon. We're, the cart isn't going to be saved forever. So why not come back and use this discount? You can change it up for Black Friday and Cyber Monday period. Like since we're talking about holiday readiness, you if you are open to it, there's an option to actually set up like a separate campaign just for the holiday period where you would reduce the delays so that you could, if you're offering like a special discount on Black Friday, then make sure that at least the 3 emails or maybe just the 2 of them are sent on that Black Friday, and let them know that the discount is going to end, or the sale is going to end by midnight that night. And then change it up when Saturday hits, then go back to like your regular cart abandoned campaign. And we do have a tool that we'd recommend using if you're not using a dedicated like email platform right now. There's AutomateWoo, which is really effective for creating workflows in WooCommerce. And so you can set up the sequence, you can set up numerous workflows. They even have like pre-made or preset workflows. So you're not starting from scratch. It even provides you some of the email content and wording, and it can be really useful for getting up and running right away.
That's awesome. I like that you brought up, kind of that this is a unique situation for like the timing of sending these out, right? So much of that sales weekend happens, it just kind of crunched into this little bubble of, Friday, Saturday, and Monday, for the most part. And you might not want to let these second and third attempts fall too far out on this weekend in particular, but in general, that this is probably, good practice the rest of
Yes,
the year. So take this opportunity also to go ahead and set this up, but then, leave that going. If you didn't have cart abandonment emails set up already for your store, this is the time to go ahead and do it. But then there's no reason to turn that off after this holiday weekend. To let that go, but then, adjust the timeline.
exactly. Please don't turn it off after. This is going to be like your money maker, this one campaign. So keep up with it all year long.
Yeah, that stat that 70% of carts are abandoned it's staggering. That's a huge number, and if you can recover even the small portion of that sales that you would have otherwise lost.
Exactly.
Cool. Next one we're going to talk about is win-back emails. Win-back emails re-engage inactive customers to generate repeat purchases. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about these and how we might consider inactive customers?
Yeah. So win back emails are pretty straightforward in that you're targeting folks that haven't made a purchase on your store for a while. Typically, we'll look at customers that haven't had any sort of shopping activity with you in the last 3 to 6 months. And so you would start from there and target them. You could also even target them based on what they last purchased. Typically, you would share maybe the latest products that you've added to your site, or with Black Friday, it's a really great way to engage with them and let them know about all of the upcoming sales, and kind of get tease out some of the offers that you'll be making over that weekend and what they can look forward to. Because really, customers that have shopped with you previously, they're the easiest ones to win back. They're easier to get back to your store than trying to get new traffic in, or trying to win over a visitor that hasn't yet shopped with you. Because hopefully that first time that they made a purchase, they had a really great experience. They have an understanding of your order fulfillment process and what to expect. And you hopefully like delighted them along the way, so that now that you're reaching out, it's just, it is a reminder. It's a kind reminder of like, hey, this is what you loved, our last stuff that you bought. Why don't you come back and check out the new items that we have?
Yeah, that
Um,
seems extra pertinent this time of year, right? Everyone's expecting emails in their inbox, so you have eyes on these, and if they've already made a purchase with you, then they're at the very least, less likely to immediately delete the email in their inbox, right? They'll give you a chance, especially if you did, if you like you said, like you delighted them, they'll give your email a chance. They'll take a look and see what your new products are and stuff, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And I like that we're noting here too that the bulk of your email list is likely inactive. And so this is a way to perform a little bit of list management. So sending a reminder, seeing who does open and does click. And if they don't open or click, maybe it's time to remove them off of your list because depending on what sort of platform you're using, you could be paying for these folks that aren't engaging at all, which is increasing your monthly costs. But also, there's no real point in trying to engage with people that don't want to hear from you. Your energies are better spent working on the customers that are really involved and are more active shoppers.
Yeah, 100%. Um, Same thing here, the who, when, how. So this would be for any customer who has not placed a purchase for a certain amount of time. You briefly noted somewhere in the like 3 to 6 month range. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about that? And then again, a little bit of how you might set this up with WooCommerce?
Yeah. And that 3 to 6 month range really depends on the type of products that you are selling. So let's say if you're selling like an in-ground pool, you don't want to reach out to them 6 months later and be like, hey, ready for your second pool. So, but you could potentially segment it. So like if they last purchased some, uh, like some sort of water filtration, um, apparatus, then they might need new chemicals in the following season. So it'll be an opportune time to wait a year and then see if they need to get the chemicals again. But for Black Friday, that means that you could let them know that you've got some sort of really great sale coming up for those those accessories for that really big ticket item, and they might want to like stock up ahead of time. So you could use this win back email. Like it's an effective email, and I think that really goes for all of the automations that we're talking about today. Like they are useful just year round, but this is an opportunity uh, to make them unique for the holiday period. So reach out to the inactive customers and let them know that you showed an interest in this last item. This is what you last purchased. We've got these really great items that are going to go on sale or are on sale. Why don't you come and check them out? And you could even phrase it as like these are gift opportunities too. Like maybe if you loved it so much, why don't you pick one up for your friends and family? And if you are selling something, let's say if we take it from the pool, in-ground pool aspect, and we go to something that is a little bit more disposable, perhaps you are selling like lotions or some sort of consumable, then you might consider an inactive customer in a smaller sort of time frame. So someone that last shopped with you maybe 2 months ago would be considered inactive. So you do need to think about what you're selling and how you want to make that adjustment. I hope I covered the when okay. And so I was thinking with the how, well, again, AutomateWoo is a really great tool for this. They have the preset workflows as well. So you can use those to get up and running really quickly because you don't need to start from scratch.
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain, but I would imagine that once you set one of these up in AutomateWoo, that it's going to use your historical order data already when doing that calculation of whether or not the customer is inactive, right?
Yeah, you can. And it's totally flexible. So you can, it's based on the last purchase date. And so you can change it, define that however you'd like. And you can even make it repetitive. So let's say you want to target everyone that last purchased 6 months ago. You can then also say it should repeat X like every X time frame. So
Hmm.
I don't necessarily recommend doing that. It depends on the situation, but like, yeah, you've got some really cool sort of flexibility with their plugin.
That's awesome. All right, let's move to order confirmation emails. Order confirmations put customers at ease, increasing brand loyalty, and at the very least are sent out to everyone, right? So this is a great opportunity to get eyes on something that you want to share besides maybe just the actual contents of the order itself. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about why these are useful for this time of year for holiday readiness?
Yeah, well, you should be sending this out just all the time,
Sure.
and to every customer should be getting one, just because it reduces that panic and creates a sense of peace of mind to know, okay, they've gotten my order, my payment went through, and it's laying the groundwork of like setting expectations for
Yeah,
how the
there's
order
some
fulfillment.
brand trust there by getting that and
Exactly.
knowing that the order has been placed and that you should expect to receive whatever the product is.
Right. Yeah. Now you can make some changes to this for the holiday period, um, like via that upsell or cross sell message. So in certain areas, you would need to check with your local, spam or anti spam regulations. I know that generally in the States, you can include up to 15 or 20% marketing content within a transactional email. Um, so it is an opportunity to include a cross sell or upsell. You could mention something that is related, to the FCM or Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale that you have going on, and just make that temporary change to the order email during that holiday period, and then just make sure to update it after the period has ended. Um, when it comes to those cross sells and upsells, it's really can be really helpful. Let's say you sell things that have certain accessories that would be required, like selling key fobs. Someone might forget to add batteries to their order. So by reminding them, like, hey, we've got some really great battery selections here, you can get them back to your store again. It also is an opportunity to make that little call out about a gift as a cross sell. Like, you like this, so why not get it for your friends and family as well? And we'll give you another 10% off or something.
Yeah, that's one that I always forget about. I always forget about that opportunity to take something that the customer hopefully enjoys, right? Assuming that your product is valuable and they enjoy it, that's always an opportunity for them to gift that to someone else. And if I'm forgetting that, then I'm certain that customers aren't thinking about that either. So if you call that out in the order confirmation email, that sparks that little, oh yeah, I did enjoy this. And I think, my buddy would enjoy this too. So maybe I'll get one for them.
Totally. That's the thing too. Like, that's why it's so important to have these calls to action, because if you don't ask, it's not going to happen. It's really effective when you ask or you kind of call something out in the email. It's incredible to see how effective it can be and that it does convert. And that calls back to like all those stats that we saw at the beginning, like just having that link and being like, buy now. People are going to click it. It's incredible.
Yep. Yeah. So as we sort of mentioned, this would go to any customer who has completed a purchase, and by any, I guess it should say every customer who has completed a purchase, not just now, but always, not just during this holiday time. Um, yeah, the when also seems relatively straightforward as soon as the purchase is made. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about the how here, how you can customize these, how they get sent out, all of that?
Yeah. So in WooCommerce, you can modify the template. If you've ever played around with it and have been able to modify it, then you are definitely a true PHP genius. Or you may have gotten frustrated. So I know that I personally prefer to use some sort of email customizer. The WooCommerce email customizer that WooCommerce provides is really straightforward, and helps you style certain areas much easier to do. Then there's also the Cadence WooCommerce email designer. That's also it's a little bit more enhanced than the WooCommerce email customizer. So if you are looking for additional uh, features, then I'd go with the latter. I did want to mention that on our managed WordPress e-commerce platform, we just recently started going live with an email customization feature. So that just has started rolling out to folks on our platform yesterday, and it's really exciting because it's a built-in way to manage your emails in a much friendlier sort of environment where you've got the visual previews. You can make changes to the font and the styles and whatnot, and even add additional content, change up the header, add your logo. So it is something that our team has worked really hard on to bring as a native experience on our platform.
I have done the PHP route, and I am fully in the camp of being frustrated trying
Yeah,
to make it look exactly the way that it needs to look and work across email clients and all of that. So 100%
exactly.
recommend using a plugin or built-in part of the platform um, to make these look the way that you want them to look, and know that they're going to get sent out in a way that will still continue to look that way in inboxes when they get there.
Yes.
Moving on to the next one is feedback requests. Find out what went well and what could have gone better. Why would you want to use a feedback request, and maybe what kind of things would you want to know? What kind of things would you ask in a feedback request?
Yeah. Well, I just love chatting with our customers. And I'm sure all of you joining us today as merchants, I'm sure you're the same, that you want to chat with your customers and find out like what has gone well, what hasn't, because it really makes such an impact on how you run your business. And I'd love to hear negative feedback because it means that I have an opportunity to make something better. And so that's really, I think, the main benefit of sending a feedback request is getting that information back from your customer. Folks won't necessarily engage and actually let you know if something went wrong. It's easier to click a button. So like that's why I really like this example of this email, because you're just giving them a way to rate their experience. If it was really poor, then that's an opportunity for you to follow up and see if maybe they'll provide you with more information. From the customer standpoint, though, this is a way of just engaging with them so that you're back on their radar. And so they know that, oh, right, like there was that recent purchase I made, and I may have forgotten, about who I even did business with regarding the purchase. So like it's like, okay, I could go back, I could visit their store, then maybe there's something else I'd like to buy from them. And it also is a way of, as a customer, feeling like the merchant cares too. If they care enough to reach out to me. So there's again that brand loyalty that you're kind of developing with the customer by sending an email like this. So I think this email has there's so much opportunity baked into it because one way or another, you're going to get some sort of feedback from it, and that can really help inform, changes that you might make on your store.
Yeah, I like that, the part that you mentioned about the customer nurturing, right? It gives them, for me, when I get these, as long as they're, not really, really long and asking me 100 questions, I really like that they reached out and were like, "Hey, we weren't just like, thanks for your money, good luck. How did it go? What can we do better? Is there something that we can do now? Is something we can provide you now?" That's all very valuable feedback after the fact, that makes the customer feel listened to, and like they matter and aren't just another sale.
Yeah, exactly.
So continuing on, this would be again for any customer who has completed a purchase. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about the when here, when these should be sent out, and again a little bit of the logistical how that might happen?
Yeah. For when, I think it's really important then to think about your order fulfillment process and shipping. So I would I've typically set these up to have like a 10-day delay, and that's based on having a couple days for order fulfillment, then 3 to 5 days for shipping, and then giving the customer a couple days there to try the product out, right? And
Hmm.
decide whether or not it's for them. And so you're giving yourself a little bit of buffer at the end, because the last thing you want to do is for this email to arrive before they've even received the item. because that's just going to reflect poorly on your company and on you. And it could cause some frustration on the customer's end. So it's really just think about like the typical customer, maybe even the furthest destination that that an item might go. If you are doing a lot of international shipping, you might want to set up segmented campaigns. And so always don't be scared of using segmentation. Like segmentation will actually make your sequences stronger. So if you do have that international setup, segment for like folks that are perhaps in China that you might be delivering to, and think about, okay, if that's going to take 30 days, then I'm going to send this email out on the 35-day mark. So there's an opportunity there to personalize the experience for the customers based on like certain groupings. And I think that would be the most important thing about this, is just making sure it gets delivered after the products have arrived. For
Yeah,
this,
I think it's
one,
important to note there that this isn't set in stone. Like once you set it up once, yes, you can let it be if it's doing what it's supposed to be doing, but you always have the opportunity to kind of fine tune that. So if you don't start with segments and then you find that it's hitting inboxes too soon, you can add segments later or start further out. Let it be 2 weeks. If that, if that feels like, oh, everyone's getting it after a week, you can always scale that back to 10 days or something like that.
that's exactly, and that's a really good point. That it's important to iterate, like set something up, collect some data to understand what is working and what isn't, and then make some changes. Because as you said, Marcus, nothing is written in stone. So everything can be modified, they can be turned off. The important thing is just to start and try something out.
Yep. And then I cut you off before the how, but it looks like you might want to use AutomateWoo or FollowUps for these.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. Either one would work. They For AutomateWoo, they do have a preset workflow. Well, it's a review request, so you could use the same. And review requests would also work. Like it's really important to get some social proof on your website, because new visitors and customers, they're looking to see what other people think of these items too. And if they can leave images, of the products and that they've tried on or in their own home, that also is more effective than having just like text reviews. So AutomateWoo has that workflow available, and with like a small tweak, you could make it into a feedback request where it's just really about their experience instead. With follow-ups, you do need to set everything up from scratch, but it also works.
Nice. I'll also take this moment to quickly plug that we did talk a little bit about review requests in the very first part of the series, the essentials, holiday readiness essentials. So if you did miss that, make sure to go back and give that a watch. It's available now. And I'll go over it at the end so you can get the web address and all that. Let's move on to welcome emails. So welcome emails are for new subscribers. It's the first step in nurturing a customer relationship. This would be new subscribers to email lists, correct, Tabitha?
Right.
And tell us a little bit more about that, and especially this ridiculous open rate that's on the
Right.
first line here.
Yeah. And so that's really incredible. It's even higher than transactional emails, like we saw with the order confirmation email. And that's really because when someone signs up for a mailing list, they're expecting to get this welcome email, because often the standard now is that the store will offer you some sort of discount for signing up to the list. So I think that's really driving this high open rate, because people are going to that email to get that discount so that they can apply it right away on their first order. And I think too, this also plays to your advantage as the merchant and the one sending this email. With welcome emails, because we know it's read so well, I think that merchants have been figuring out how to use it to their advantage when it comes to sending reputation, because it's really important to have a really good email deliverability rating across the different inbox providers. And so one way to do that is with this email. It helps signal to you know, uh, Gmail and Hotmail and all of the big inbox providers that you are a legitimate sender. People want to get your emails and they're not junk or spam. So this is a really important email to get right so that people are opening it. And then what I like to do is make sure that there's a call to action in the email. So you've got a button and they're more likely to click it. So that's even stronger signal to those inbox providers that you are you deserve to have a positive sending reputation. So if you can get them to click that email, and it doesn't have to be anything, it'd be like, send them to some sort of landing page, or just, like your policy, your shipping policy page, or maybe check out our most recent products, some way to get them back to your site. And you don't have to create unique content for it. Just anything that is going to have a strong call to action on that button that gets them to click, that will be setting you up for success when it comes to how your emails are then getting like routed into the inbox or into the promotions tab versus into spam and junk, which we really want to stay away from.
Yeah, I didn't even think about all that. The fact that, having those in there, and the engagement with those emails really helps bolster, just your status with those email clients as well. I
Yeah.
think if there was ever a reason to be convinced that this is important, it's these numbers here. The number more likely to buy from you and buy new products and all of that. Just staggering numbers there, which is incredible.
Yeah, definitely. So, and we touched about on that earlier too, that your loyal customers and returning customers, these are the ones that are really going to be the bread and butter in a way. Like they are the ones that are coming back. They're the ones that are referring you to other people that they know. And they're also more willing to try new products that you bring out. So if you get this just right, you can nurture them along the way to become then these repeat customers that come back over and over.
Yeah, you don't have to start by convincing them that your brand is trustworthy and creates good products. You just have to convince them of the next product or whatever, because they've already made a purchase. They already have that in their minds. So this would go to anyone that has subscribed to your newsletter, and it would happen as soon as they've been added to your mailing list, right?
Right.
It looks like we're mentioned follow-ups here again. Do you want to talk just a little bit about using follow-ups for these?
Yeah, follow-ups would probably be the best, like of since we've been recommending between AutomateWoo and follow-ups for the others. Follow-ups here is really useful because they offer list management, so you can create up different subscriber lists within the plugin. They also provide a form that you can then integrate on any page. You can also have an opt-in marketing opt-in at checkout. So that's built into the checkout form itself. And that makes it, you can make sure that it's like deselected by default. You could turn it on, but you probably wouldn't want to. But anyways, it's really simple to then integrate it with your site, start growing those lists, and then create one-time newsletters that you can send with follow-ups to let them know about events and sales and whatnot.
Yeah, so these are then all managed within your site, all in one place.
Exactly.
Cool. It looks like we have one more different type here: newsletter emails. They can be while they are less personalized, less targeted to individual customers or potential customers, broadcast newsletters provide store and product updates. Do you want to tell us a little bit about why that is useful, and maybe some additional considerations there that we have listed at the bottom?
Yeah. And it's interesting with personalization, like there are ways to personalize. Thankfully, we can typically, like if they've purchased something in the past, we can, depending on what sort of email tool you're using, you might be able to segment on like past purchases, past spend amounts. So if they're like a high roller and that you'd consider them a VIP, you could target them specifically and let them know about an exclusive sort of discount. I think everyone wants to be part of an elite club. So you could even just
Sure.
send it as to everyone and let them know they are a VIP. So it's all about like how you kind of spin it, right, with your list. But you can personalize to a degree. But generally, with newsletters, you are providing more generic information, and it could be about store updates or product updates. It could be industry updates. You know, as a merchant, you are an expert in your niche, in your industry. So why not share that information with your customers and keep them up to date on the latest happenings? And you can always then tie it back into like, well, this is, you know, the new understanding in skincare, and these are the products that we now carry that are, you know, are the best in the market for this new technology. So it's a way of establishing yourself as a source of information for your customers as well, not just about sales. Sales, like newsletters get tiresome. And so you only want to send so many of those. You're likely to kind of lose folks if that's the only type of newsletter you're sending. So it's good to kind of change it up and create different types of mailings for your list. And we know that it works, right? So email is still like, it's 40 times more effective at acquiring new customers than Facebook or Twitter. Like we saw those, we were talking about the conversion rates earlier, the versus social and email, it's more than double there for conversion rates. So it's the way to reach out to your list. And once they've signed up for your list, they've shown an interest. So you're not bothering them by continuing to email them. That they want to get emails from you. So you kind of created this social agreement of like, yes, I'm going to email you. So you want to follow up on that. And so, you know, create some sort of regular cadence. If you typically send out an email every 2 weeks, make sure you stick to that pattern. And if you miss an email, let them know, hey, we're sorry, we forgot, or, you know, we ran, it was getting busy, and then spin it as like, this is a lead up to the holiday period because we've got so much going on. We're getting everything ready for you. And there are a lot of tools that can help you with sending emails or newsletters. Typically, you'd want to use like a dedicated email platform because your volume is usually higher for this type of email versus an automation. So we are noting here like MailChimp and Klaviyo, these are well-established email platforms, and they provide all sorts of different templates so you don't have to start from scratch. We also at GoDaddy have a really great tool, which is the GoDaddy email marketing tool, and that can be integrated with your WordPress site. You can then have a dedicated sign-up form. Everything gets synced back to GoDaddy email marketing, and then we've got templates for you to use, and it's really straightforward to set up and email your various lists that you'd like to.
Yeah, you briefly mentioned the cadence on these two and newsletter fatigue. So I definitely do suffer from newsletter fatigue, but the caveat being at this time of year, the holiday season, everyone's kind of clamoring for those discounts and those new projects and those announcements and all of that. So while it can be overdone, I think you can lean into sending them out maybe more often, or just not being nervous about sending them out during this time of year specifically, knowing that newsletter fatigue sort of gets thrown out the window for a month or so.
Yeah.
And everybody wants to know what the new thing is that's coming out and what deal they can get on it and what discounts are being offered and all of that.
Exactly. And so I would look to like your competitors and like the competition that you really respect. What are they doing and what sort of cadence are they following? And it's an opportunity then to do it better. So if they're too much, pull it back a bit. If they're not doing enough, increase it a bit and try to like outdo, of course, their offers that they're making in some way. Like however it is that you can spin that what you're offering is going to be a better experience for your customer. But exactly with the fatigue. So let's say if you send 2 emails a week, typically, going into this holiday period with Black Friday and Cyber Monday, you wouldn't all of a sudden want to go from 2 emails a week to 20 emails a week. Like that's
Not that
not a
many.
great,
Two.
like, it's over eager, but you could double it. Like you could go from
Mhm.
2 emails to 4 emails a week, because that's not unexpected, as you said. Like we're expecting to see more emails, and it definitely there's an uptick. Like the 10 billion emails that we saw last year sent over the holiday weekend that's not happening every weekend.
Right.
Definitely
Yeah.
not.
No,
But
that's
it
what I was
is
gonna say too. If I agreed to 2 a week and I get 4 a week for the month of November, I'm okay with that as long as
exactly.
it goes back to 2 a week after that. Like I expect during that time of the year that I'm just going to be hit with more emails, and I want them. I want to see what's happening with your store.
Exactly. Yeah, because you're it is informative. It's not like you're bothering them. They signed up because they want to know about your deals in addition to whatever other content that you share. So, and I would be upset if like the stores I like to shop at didn't let me know that they had a really awesome sale. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so please tell them
I'd,
and get them
I'd rather
excited
get
about it.
I'd rather get 3 too many and catch the sale than miss it entirely and then just be frustrated that I didn't know.
Exactly.
All right. I think that's the end of the types. We do have a couple of slides here about some of the tools that we've mentioned throughout. So the first one here is AutomateWoo, which sends some of the automated emails that we've talked about here. Do you want to just maybe give us a brief? We are starting to head towards the top of the hour here, so maybe briefly give us a little bit of an overview of AutomateWoo.
Yeah, it's just a really simple plugin to get up and running. It is provided on our managed WordPress e-commerce platform. Oh, am I getting ahead of myself?
That's okay.
Okay,
Plug it
so
as many
so
times as you want.
right, so that's why I'm familiar with it, because we make it free, available for free on our platform when you sign up to our plan, and it's what I really love is that you've got all of these preset workflows. So you're not having to start from scratch, but of course you can create your own workflows, and it can do so much more than just email. So you can set it up to have to make adjustments to order statuses when certain things change, or to update various information within WooCommerce itself. You can also send SMS messages with it. So it's not just an email tool. It really is a way to automate systems within WooCommerce itself. It just happens to do emails really well. So it's a great tool for that.
Yeah, it's super powerful, and email is kind of like tip of the iceberg of what it does, but it does that really well. The other one that's automation related that we've talked about a bit here is follow-ups. Do you want to give us a little bit of a rundown of follow-ups and maybe compare it to AutomateWoo a little bit?
Yeah. And so like AutomateWoo and follow-ups are quite similar. And AutomateWoo is technically more robust in its feature set. So like if you're trying to choose between one or the other, you would typically go with AutomateWoo, but with a caveat here that follow-ups does a few things really well, or just does them when AutomateWoo isn't able to. So if you're really into Twitter, if you've got like a really big following on Twitter, and that's really where like one of your main socials where you engage with customers, this is a super useful tool because you can use it to tweet, which you can't do with AutomateWoo. So you've got some various like Twitter options here with follow-ups. Also for the mailing list management, that isn't an option within AutomateWoo. However, it is available within follow-ups, along with having like a separate sign-up form that you can integrate with your site. So and then being able to send one-off emails. AutomateWoo is really focused on automation versus follow-ups. You can send manual emails. It's just that it doesn't have as many of like the presets available. So you are starting, from scratch, like from a blank canvas for some of these things. But if you're willing to do that and you have those needs where you want to be able to send one-time emails and you're really into Twitter, then this is the tool for you.
Yeah, there's some overlap, but they do have kind of their own niche things that they can do as well that the other doesn't.
Exactly.
So it definitely depends on kind of the overall package of what you're looking to do.
Or just use
Or
them both.
yeah, as I say, or you could use
Yeah.
them both. There's really no reason not to. You
Exactly.
don't necessarily set up the same automations in both, but you can use
No.
kind of the bits and pieces of each that make sense. And then the other one we have here is WooCommerce Email Customizer, which you talked about some earlier when we were talking about customizing order confirmation emails. And this allows the store to customize designs of the emails that your customers receive. I know you talked about it a little bit earlier. I don't know if you have anything to add, but feel free to add more here if you want.
Well, this is just I really love this image because it does show you that what the email looks like. So if you're
Mm-hmm.
in WooCommerce, you're not seeing this, you're just seeing PHP and a bunch of notes in code. And so this is a breath of fresh air to be able, because this really is what matters. You want to have an idea of how the email is going to look in the inbox. And so here you can make styling changes with the customizer. So it is, that's what it does. Like nothing extra. It just helps you customize the email. But that is really useful when it comes to like the built-in WooCommerce emails.
Yes, highly recommend using something where you can preview the email as you're working on it.
Exactly.
Cool. And that does bring us to Q&A. It does look like I have just a couple of questions in here. We only have a few minutes left, but we can take a peek at these, I think, real quick. What is the best way for me to know if my email marketing is working?
Yeah. So there is really important then to look at your stats. So if you look at how the emails are performing, look at open rate, click-through rate, unsubscribe rate as well. And ideally you'd be able to look at these metrics based on each email. So if you're in a sequence to see, a sequence of 3 emails, where the drop-offs happen. And if there are unsubscribes, like generally on the second email, well, then looking at the content of that email to see why. You might need to make changes. But generally, if we're looking at open rate and it's low, that means that there's an issue with your subject line, your call to action, just in the inbox itself, because people aren't opening it. So think about like rewording that subject line and how you can make it more compelling for someone to open it. For click-through rate, if that's quite low, and typically we're looking, so I should probably define these. Open rate is generally about 18% across all emails. We do see higher open rates for specific email types. So like with transactional emails, that's about 60%. The welcome new subscribers, that is much higher. 90%, although you might not see that, it could be lower and it could be in that 60 to 90 range. And then some like follow-ups might be lower where they're closer to like 10 to 15%. So if you're seeing it like where you're just getting a 5% open rate, take a look at your subject lines. Click-through rates, typically, I have to go back into my numbers now. I know that with abandoned carts, I believe that's about 9%. And I think though, generally across all emails, it's closer to like 4 or 5%. So why am I thinking of double digits? Those are coming to mind. Okay, so click-through rate, no, it's generally across all emails 2.6%. We're just going to see it higher for certain email types. But still 2.6 is not the highest. So I'd say anything like 3% or less that you're seeing, think about like your call to action and make sure you have a call to action. That is something that we sometimes forget, that we forgot to add like a button or a link or something to get them back to the site. So make sure that's there. And then, what is it that you're asking them to do? Does it make sense within the context of the email? Is it an offer that is going to be compelling enough to get them back to your store? And then unsubscribes, think about your frequency, the content. So maybe if you have a high unsubscribe rate, and that generally you don't want higher than 1 to 2%. If it's higher than that, you could also get dinged for your email deliverability. So if you're seeing a high unsubscribe, are you sending too many emails? Are you not sending them soon enough after someone has subscribed and they've forgotten about you? Do you need to clean up your mailing list and remove folks that just are no longer engaged with you? And is there like content? Are you sending content that they're perhaps not expecting? I could go on, but maybe that's enough.
I was going to say, I feel like you gave us a mini webinar within the webinar just now. That was a lot of really, really great advice and great things to look out for. Yeah, as we're at the top of the hour here, I'm going to try and start wrapping us up here. Do you have, maybe as we go, what's the most important bit of advice that you can share about making, sort of to tie a ribbon on all of the things that we've talked about today? What's kind of the key takeaway there?
Key takeaway: email is so effective. It's your most effective marketing channel. So use it, and use the tools that you have available right now to get something up and running if you don't yet have any emails going out. And then start, like, in terms of being holiday ready, now's the time to get started on these emails. So carve out some time this week, think about your marketing plan leading up to the holidays, and start sending those emails so that folks, know all about all of the great offers that you'll be making leading into December.
Yep, like as often mentioned, you needed this yesterday. Start
Yeah,
if you haven't done it, now is the time. Make sure that these
exactly.
things are all set up. Cool. Thanks, Tabitha. I did want to, before we head out here, remind everyone that this is part of a holiday readiness series that we're doing with GoDaddy Pro. If you missed the last 3 weeks, the shopping essentials, the payments and transactional emails, and security sessions, those are all available to watch now at the URL we have here, or also at events.godaddy.com, and on our GoDaddy Pro YouTube channel. And there is one more next Wednesday, same place, same time. Make sure that you register for that, about just monitoring your Google Analytics and using those to make informed decisions. Some of what Tabitha already talked about with the emails as well. Use that data to make decisions going into this holiday season about what to tweak and all of that. And then you alluded to it a little bit, Tabitha. Our GoDaddy's managed WordPress e-commerce hosting includes the plugins that we mentioned here, along with a whole bunch of others. There are over 75 free and premium plugins that are nearly $6,000 worth of premium plugins that are available for you on the managed WordPress e-commerce hosting platform. So if you're interested in the ones that we talked about here, and a whole slew of other ones that are helpful for your holiday sales, cross sells, upsells, all of that way of plugins for those, do go take a look at that at godaddy.com/hosting/e-commerce hosting, or just look up managed WordPress e-commerce hosting as well for more information about that. That's all I have for now. Thanks again, Tabitha, for joining me and providing actual real knowledge that people wouldn't have gotten from me if it was just me. So I super appreciate you being here to impart all of your email marketing wisdom.
Oh, thank you. It was a real honor and pleasure to join you today. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks again. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you on the next webinar.
Bye.